Well, let's talk a little sports on this Friday morning. So joining us now is TSN Bardown's Luca Celebre. Luca, good to catch up with you right now. And of course, always good to get into sports because it looks like, for example, the Raptors back on the court last night for the first game after the NBA All-Star break. And the Raptors are looking pretty good suddenly. The addition of Jakob Poeltl is really seeming to change things around.
Really has, and I feel like a lot of people were kind of scratching their heads when they acquired him at the trade deadline and gave up a first-round pick, and people were just like, wait, what is this team doing? I thought they were selling, and all of these trade rumors around OG and Pascal Siakam, and we're going to be rebuilding, and playoffs aren't really a thing, and now he seems to be the guy that's just sparked this turnaround. They've won 3 in a row. They've won 7 of their last 10, and they're half a game back of that 8th spot in the Eastern Conference. So it has been an impressive turnaround. I think it just the overall thing here to take away is we should just have more trust in Masai Ujiri and his plan and his staff and what they've been doing, because ever since he's got here, he has made move after move that they've always seemed to work out no matter what. And so it shouldn't be surprising that this is working out to such a degree that it has been so far.
Yeah, and we knew Masai didn't necessarily want to lose him to bring Kawhi in, but we saw the result of bringing Kawhi in, and now he's brought him back. So let's see what happens there. In the meantime, let's talk about the sort of co-anchors of Scotiabank Arena. Toronto Maple Leafs back in action tonight, hosting the Minnesota Wild. The Leafs, we'll talk to the trade deadline first, but let's tee up the game.
Yeah, Leafs and Wild. It's always fun when these Western Conference teams kind of come into town because you get a look at those teams that you don't really see normally. But when you're talking about the Leafs, it's hard not to be talking about Ryan O'Reilly and Mitch Marner and John Tavares and that line, that insane game in Buffalo, and I'm sure they're going to be looking to build off of that. But O'Reilly and just what he brings to the lineup, you saw it in that Buffalo game, everything on display. It really isn't just the offensive play. It's the defensive plays. It's the positioning. He's always in the right spots, and he can finish a little too. If this is the version of Ryan O'Reilly you're going to get, I know a lot of people were kind of worried about what version you're getting because he was playing on a pretty bad St. Louis team and the numbers weren't great. But we've seen it with this Leafs team. You kind of put anyone with these skilled players, and it seems to work out. And you add a Conn Smythe winner to the mix because they haven't been adding those recently, and it all really looks amazing. So maybe not expecting a hat trick every night, but you continue to see the chemistry every night, and it's only going to get better.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of like when Austin Matthews scored 4 goals in his first NHL game. You can't expect that all the way through, but Ryan O'Reilly definitely looks like he's comfortable and fitting in on the Leaf squad for sure, so that's good news. So that big trade happening last week, but the trade deadline, of course, Luke, is coming up. What's the buzz ahead of the weekend? Because the name Patrick Kane keeps coming up, whether it's Winnipeg or Toronto. I don't know if he's going to end up in Canada, but he seems to be the biggest bait around.
Yeah, and it's so interesting this year, the trade deadline, as far as teams like holding players out. I don't feel like I've seen it to this degree where every big name seems to be held out except for Patrick Kane, who's playing and kind of increasing his stock. He's scored a ton of goals recently. New York is apparently still in the mix, which is crazy because they added Vlad Tarasenko. And so you look at the Rangers and wonder, what are they going to give up for a guy like Patrick Kane? I don't know if the Leafs are done. It's tough to say because Kyle Dubas has traded that first-round pick, and I think people wanted him to be aggressive, and he finally did. Winnipeg as well. They're a really interesting team because the West is kind of weak this year as far as the teams at the top of it. Vegas is decent, Edmonton decent, Colorado is not at the top of the West. So if you're looking at Winnipeg and where they are in the standings, adding a guy like Patrick Kane could be the move that maybe gets you to a Western Conference final and a Stanley Cup final, because the West is kind of poor this year and the East is just loaded. And for Patrick Kane, maybe that's what you want. 1 year in Winnipeg, you can sign wherever you want afterwards, but having that easier path to a cup final might just be the selling point.
And he does seem like a rental, that's for sure. Okay, Luca Celebre, always good to talk sports with you. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.